Dear Patriots, please subscribe to our patriotic channel. Like and share this video so your friends can see it. Thank you. Corrupt to the core, entire FBI going down after Trump found their mole. It all makes sense now. It has been a couple of weeks of revelations as an intense battle of wills broke out between House Intel Committee Chairman Devin Nunes, DCA, the Department of Justice, and the Mueller investigation concerning a cache of intelligence that Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein refuses to hand over in response to a subpoena, a request Rosenstein equated to nothing less than extortion. Information deemed so incredibly top secret that the DOJ refused to show Nunes on the grounds that it could risk lives by potentially exposing the source, a U.S. citizen who has provided intelligence to the CIA and FBI. The agency finally relented on Wednesday, allowing Nunes and Representative Trey Gowdy, RSC, to receive a classified briefing. Then came the bombshell revelation via a disturbing op-ed in the Wall Street Journal by Kimberly Strassel alleging the FBI had infiltrated the Trump campaign with a mole. A spy that Strassel believes she knows the identity of but will not publish at this time. She notes, "I believe I know the name of the informant, but my intelligence sources did not provide it to me and refused to confirm it. It would, therefore, be irresponsible to publish it." So it is apparently time to play whack-a-mole with the big leagues in Washington. So let's go on a mole hunt. The Last Refuge notes in February that Trump campaign advisor Carter Page was working as an undercover employee, UCE, for the FBI. Helping the agency build a case against Yevgeny Beryakov. Then, 7 months later, the FBI told a FISA court Page was a spy. The Last Refuge notes in April 2017, writing a story about Carter Page, trying to enhance, affirm the Russian narrative, the New York Times outlined Page's connections to the Trump campaign. However, New York Times also references Page's prior connection to the Beryakov case. If you ignore the narrative, you discover the use one description is Carter Page. Jack Posobiec took to Twitter to ask Page directly if the mole was him rather than simply speculate. Page in return replied, denying the charge, stating, "But if what I'm hearing alleged is correct, it's a guy I know who splits most his time between inside the Beltway and in one of the other Five Eyes countries," adding, "and if so, it'd be typical, swamp creatures putting themselves first." Another person of significant interest is Stefan Halper. Halper is a foreign policy expert and Cambridge professor with connections to both the CIA and its British counterpart, MI6. Remember, M16 is where Christopher Steele of the now infamous dossier had connections to as well. In February 2016, Halper set up a meeting between Trump campaign advisor George Papadopoulos and former Australian High Commissioner Alexander Downer. Downer is a known Clinton crony and has tipped to Australian authorities that Papadopoulos knew of hacked emails which could potentially cause harm to Hillary Clinton was considered a major factor in the FBI's decision to launch its counterintelligence operation against the Trump campaign. According to the Daily Caller, Halper also had several other contacts with Trump campaign officials as well, noting Halper's September 2016 outreach to Papadopoulos wasn't his only contact with Trump campaign members. The 73-year-old professor, a veteran of 3 Republican administrations, met with 2 other campaign advisors. Also of note, the New York Post's Paul Sperry points out that Stefan Halper's Wikipedia page had been updated to include he has been exposed as a CIA and M16 spy behind the FBI Russiagate investigations of the Trump campaign and as an informant to the Mueller special prosecutor investigation, an addition which was quickly deleted. Zero Hedge notes that perhaps Page and Halper are connected through London-based Hackloot & Co. Founded by 3 former British intelligence operatives in 1995 to provide the kind of otherwise inaccessible research for which select governments and Fortune 500 corporations pay huge sums. Interestingly, Alexander Downer has been on their advisory board for a decade, while Halper is connected to Hackloot through Jonathan Clark, with whom he has co-authored 2 books. You can find a June 2004 video of the pair discussing their first book here. htthemarketswork.com. Jonathan Clark is the U.S. Representative, Director U.S. Operations for Hackloot. Clark is a fairly public figure, but it was quite difficult to locate references to his association with Hawk Loot. Given the lengthy association between Halper and Clark, I expect we will find additional ties between Halper, other members of Hawk Loot and members of British intelligence. Halper's association with former MI6 head Richard Dearlove, via their previous positions at Cambridge Intelligence Seminar, is already known. TheMarketsWork.com. The Wall Street Journal again dares to publish an op-ed, this time from a 33-year veteran of the FBI who, upon his reflections of his own tenure at the Bureau and considering the debacle above, proclaims his shock at the utter and complete disrespect being shown to Congress currently. As Thomas Baker notes, it truly is a change in culture. Baker states Last week we learned that some Republican members of Congress are considering articles of impeachment against Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein if he doesn't hand over certain Federal Bureau of Investigation documents. In January, House Speaker Paul Ryan had to threaten the Deputy Attorney General and FBI Director Christopher Wray with contempt to get them to comply with a House subpoena for documents about the Steele dossier. I spent 33 years in the FBI, including several working in the Office of Congressional and Public Affairs. The recent deterioration in the Bureau's relationship with Congress is shocking. It truly is a change in culture. Former directors William Webster, 1978-87, and Louis Freeh, 1993-2001, insisted that the FBI respond promptly to any congressional request. In those days, a congressional committee didn't need a subpoena to get information from the FBI. Yes, we were particularly responsive to the appropriations committees, which are key to the Bureau's funding. But my colleagues and I shared a general sense that responding to congressional requests was the right thing to do. The Bureau's leaders often reminded us of Congress's legitimate oversight role. This was particularly true of the so-called Gang of Eight, which was created by statute to ensure the existence of a secure vehicle through which congressional leaders could be briefed on the most sensitive counterintelligence or terrorism investigations. On August 27, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Devin Nunes asked the FBI to deliver certain documents immediately. The bulk of the documents weren't actually delivered until January 11. I can't imagine Mr. Webster or Mr. Freeh tolerating such a delay. One of the documents Mr. Nunes requested is the electronic communication believed to have initiated the counterintelligence investigation of Donald Trump in July 2016. The FBI had previously provided a redacted text of that communication, but the Intelligence Committee wanted to see more. On March 23, the Bureau essentially told the committee it wouldn't lift the redactions. There are legitimate reasons why the FBI would want certain portions of a sensitive document redacted, such as when information comes from a foreign partner. But there are ways around such difficulties. Select members of Congress have in the past been allowed to read highly sensitive documents under specific restrictions. Former FBI Director James Comey didn't even inform the Gang of Eight that the Bureau had opened a counterintelligence investigation into the campaign of a major party candidate for president. He testified on March 20, 2017, that he had kept Congress in the dark about the Trump investigation because he'd been advised to do so by his Assistant Director of Counterintelligence, due to the sensitivity of the matter. The Gang of Eight exists for precisely this purpose. Not using it is inexplicable. This isn't the way a law enforcement agency should behave under our system of separation of powers. Attorney General Jeff Sessions must push Mr. Wray to get the FBI's relationship with Congress back on track. It won't be easy, but the American people deserve it and the Constitution demands it. Dear Patriots, please subscribe to our patriotic channel. Like and share this video so your friends can see it. Thank you. Congress just blindsided Democrats. Clinton, Comey, and 4 others face criminal charges. Over the past few weeks, Washington, D.C., has been in a whirlwind because Republican congressional lawmakers sent out criminal referrals to Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General. They are looking to punish those involved in the Hillary Clinton email scandal that rocked the 2016 presidential election. Now some of the biggest names in the Washington, D.C., game are getting hit and it does not look pretty. Former presidential nominee Hillary Clinton and former Federal Bureau of Investigation Director James Comey were a few of the people who got criminal referrals. Others include Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok and his lover, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, for separate violations. The Patriot Journal reported. Republican lawmakers have finally had it with those shady Democrats. In a move that shook Washington to its very core, GOP lawmakers sent out a bunch of hard-hitting criminal referrals to Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Those facing charges include some of the biggest names in the political game, several of whom are from Barack Obama's camp. Trending, CNN reporter nearly gets into physical fight in White House, gets smacked back to reality by Sarah. Former high-ranking FBI members also got hit hard, as Capitol Hill seeks to punish those involved in the Hillary Clinton email scandal and outrageous Trump-Russia investigations. The criminal referrals in question do include Hillary herself. Has her time finally come? As well as former FBI Director James Comey, who has been on the hot seat for weeks. Others facing charges are former Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and FBI Special Agent Peter Strzok and his lover, FBI lawyer Lisa Page, for separate violations. The bottom line is that Republican lawmakers believe these people, regardless of status, should be treated as equals. Vi Breitbart. Because we believe that those in positions of high authority should be treated the same as every other American, we want to be sure that the potential violations of law outlined below are vetted appropriately. They claim Comey potentially broke the law when he protected Hillary, and for leaking classified info of his conversations with President Donald Trump to give to the press. As for Clinton, they're saying she's guilty of disguising payments to Fusion GPS, the firm that produced the infamous Trump dossier. Strzok and Page, apparent Obama lackeys, interfered in the investigation of Clinton's private email server, as they apparently tried to erase the necessary evidence. The report provides the following alarming specifics. Among others, Mr. Strzok texts Ms. Page to tell her that, in fact, senior officials had decided to water down the reference to President Obama to another senior government official, the criminal referral said. This is a very big deal, my fellow citizens. At long last, some of these deceitful, two-faced higher-ups are going to face official charges. Now, if only they can get those charges to stick. Here's hoping. CNN reported. The Justice Department's Inspector General referred its findings on former FBI Deputy Director Andrew McCabe to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington for possible criminal charges associated with lying to internal investigators, according to a source familiar with the matter. When exactly the referral was made to the U.S. Attorney's Office was not immediately clear, and prosecutors there may decline to prosecute. Last week, the IG issued a report finding that McCabe lacked candor on 4 occasions with internal investigators when discussing a Wall Street Journal article about the FBI's Clinton Foundation investigation, according to a copy of the report obtained by CNN. In addition, the Inspector General determined that McCabe was not authorized to disclose the existence of the investigation because it was not within the department's public interest exception for disclosing ongoing investigations. The disclosure to the Journal was made in a manner designed to advance his personal interests at the expense of department leadership, the report said. While leaking non-classified information is generally not a crime in itself and the IG's investigation was not a criminal probe, lying to federal investigators is a crime. Referrals are not unusual, but the move is significant given McCabe's role as the former number 2 at the FBI. McCabe's attorney, Michael Bromwich, said he believes there will be no charges filed. We were advised of the referral within the past few weeks. Although we believe the referral is unjustified, the standard for an IG referral is very low, Bromwich said in a statement. We have already met with staff members from the U.S. Attorney's Office, he added. We are confident that, unless there is inappropriate pressure from high levels of the administration, the U.S. Attorney's Office will conclude that it should decline to prosecute. The Justice Department, the Inspector General's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office all declined to comment. The findings form the basis of McCabe's firing last month by Attorney General Jeff Sessions. The criminal referrals are a perfect example of the corrupt nature of the Obama administration. They were willing to go to any lengths to do what they thought was right as well as undermine the Trump presidential campaign, even if it meant breaking the law. But since Democrats are no longer in power, nobody wants to put up with their illegal antics anymore. They should be referred, charged, and sentenced for the crimes they committed. Share if you agree.